The 76ers power forward position. Is that the weak link of the starting lineup?
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. Hello, I'm Keith Pompey. This is my right-hand man, John Mitchell, and we are the co-hosts of Locked On 76ers. We got a lot to talk to y'all about today, but as we've been keeping up all week, we're doing position by position. In today's position we're talking about is the power forward position. That's a position of weakness for the Sixers right now. Now, right now, what they have is they have a starting lineup, a projected starting lineup of Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Kelly Oubre, and Caleb Martin. And according to right now, it seems like they have three wings in Paul George, Caleb Martin, Kelly Oubre, a point guard, all-star point guard in Tyrese Maxey, and an all-star center in Joel Embiid. Now, Paul George is an all-star wing, but no power forward. None. There was a lot of talk. None, John, none in the starting lineup. Now, it could change, right? Some people think. They got the guy, Guerschon Yabusele. I'm about to butcher my man's name.
That's easy to do.
They signed him to a 1-year veteran minimum deal, $2.1 million. Right? They picked him up after what he did in the Olympics. He played for France. Everybody knows him for dunking on LeBron James and giving people fits. And then they also re-signed this summer, KJ Martin to a 2-year, $16 million deal. Essentially, he's going to be trade bait. So those are the two guys. Mitch, this could be their wink link when we talk about the positions.
Yeah, you could be talking about not the power forward position, but maybe the powerless forward position. If you look at it, Caleb Martin is, he's a guy, he's undersized. KJ, like you said, KJ Martin is going to go into the season possibly as trade bait, and they may throw PG at that position. I mean, it looks like PG better get ready, man. We got him. We have him playing some point guard. We got him playing some shooting guard and some small forward. Now with power, what's left? The center position. I think this is clearly the weakest area on their roster. And when we lost Nico Batum, you knew that was going to be an issue. When Marcus Morris, they reluctantly lost him. And then it was like, okay, where's the size going to come from? Where is the rebounding going to come from? So they go into that's the question mark. And we talk about positionless basketball. They really are positionless at the power forward. I do like Caleb Martin's game, but I just I want more physicality out of my power forward. You can't have everything. They went out and had a stunningly good offseason, at least on paper. We know how it is with teams in the Philadelphia area when they have great off seasons on paper. Doesn't necessarily translate, but I think this is really legitimately good off season. But we'll see. We'll see. Caleb Martin. The one thing we do know is he kills the Boston Celtics in the playoffs, but we don't want to overlook those 82 games in between that the 76ers have to play and get under their belts. So. It's going to be interesting, man. Losing the players that they lost at that position and losing them quickly too. Losing Nico as soon as free agency began. That's clearly going to be the issue. Now, maybe there's a remedy in the waiting, but we'll see.
Well, see, the thing is, right now when we look at basketball, the NBA basketball, the power forward position is typically, it's kind of like the fullback. It's kind of like the fullback position, the H-back in the NFL. Like a lot of teams go away from it, right? So, you look at the Boston Celtics, we talked about them. You even look at the New York Knicks last year. The reason why the New York Knicks played without a power forward in the playoffs was because essentially Julius Randle, their 3-time All-Star power forward, was injured. They lost him.
Right.
So they had Josh Hart. Josh Hart is around 6'4", 6'5", maybe, right? And he may be even a little smaller than that. But what he was doing was he was grabbing 20 rebounds against the Sixers. Like it was layups, like easy one, right? Easy money. So, and then you look at the Boston Celtics, who had Jason Tatum. He is 6'10", so 6'10", but he's a wing player. He's just a guy who's long and he can play it. But they had him playing the four. Actually, he wasn't playing the four. They had two wings. They had a center / power forward and Kristaps Porzingis. And they had two guys who were listed as point guards, right?
Yeah.
Let's not get that twisted. Best 5 players and put them on the floor, in their opinion. So that position essentially is going away. However, you do when you're dealing with teams like the New York Knicks, teams like in Indiana, you're going to have a power forward, someone in there to guard, certain guys, right? So right now, what you can get away with for much of the season is this lineup of these interchangeable parts at the wing, taking up for the lack of a power forward. Now, Paul George, I can see him playing that position at times, because when you look at it, you say to yourself, Paul George is the same size as Tobias Harris, essentially. Right. Paul George is a little bit more athletic than Tobias Harris, although Tobias Harris was extremely athletic for a 4-man, right? So essentially you're swapping one out for the other, right? But at the same time, when it came down to defending Julius Randle, I don't know if Tobias could do that. I don't know if Paul George can do that. So that's where the Sixers could get in trouble, right? And, when we get back, we're going to talk more about the two guys that they have on roster at that position, Yabusele and KJ Martin. But the first guy, after we get back from this little bit of break, I want to talk about Yabusele. Yabusele will be right.
We got to get that French pronunciation down. Oof. Well, listen, let's talk about something we don't have a hard time saying. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook.
Do it today, people. Definitely today.
Definitely do that today. And right now, Keith and I just want to thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen of the day. And for your second listen, enjoy the Locked On NBA podcast. There is no offseason in the NBA, and Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and entertained as Locked On NBA. Available on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day.
Do it today. So here's the thing. I'm going to call my man the Dancing Bear because that's what they call him in France, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yabusele.
Yabusele.
Yabusele. Dancing Bear.
Pepe Le Pew. Remember him?
I don't want to call him that.
Let me call him that if he doesn't show up and play well. We don't want to hear that.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to call him that. I'm a fan of his game. Like, big dude.
Yeah.
Big dude. Like, he remind me of his build, and a lot of these young folks don't know him. But before he gained too much weight, like a tractor trailer type guy. You know what I mean? But then tractor trailer tried to turn into the spaceship, something like that, right? Or it was a lot of guys built like, I mean, not a lot, but there were some guys that was built like him, right?
Yeah.
And that made it in the league. He's listed at 6'8", but he may be really 6'7", and he's around 270 something pounds. He may be bigger than that, but it's not like fat. It's like he's just a big dude, like massive guy. So they call him the Dancing Bear because he has great footwork for a guy that size, right? And the thing is, when we talk about him, like we talked earlier, he agreed to a 1-year, $2.1 million contract, giving the Sixers a power forward who has experience playing for the Boston Celtics and the silver medal winning in France. Like he was on that team that lost to the Sixers, not the Sixers, Team USA, and the gold medal match. Now, the thing about the Dancing Bear, he is a low-risk addition.
Yeah.
Right? For a Sixers team that only had one power forward on a roster, and that was Martin. Now, the thing about the Dancing Bear, he basically took a 2.5 buyout, like to get out of it. Like he had to give $2.5 million to get a buyout from Real Madrid overseas. Now, that's a lot of money. $2.5 million to take 2.1 mil. So you're losing 400,000, right? You lost 400,000. But to him, this is his opportunity to play. Now, the thing for the people who don't know about him, he was the 16th overall pick by the Celtics in the 2016 NBA draft. Instead of initially joining the Celtics, he signed a 1-year deal with the Shanghai Sharks of the Chinese Basketball Association, right? He then played for the Celtics during the 2017-18 and 18-19 seasons and averaged 2.3 points, 1.4 rebounds, and 6.6 minutes and 73 games played with 5 starts. So he really didn't do much. But after that, he spent this season and back in the Chinese Basketball League, and then went over in France and played before he signed with Real Madrid in 2021. But he helped Real Madrid to the 2023 EuroLeague Championship, 2 regular like Liga League Championship titles, and 3 Spanish Super Cup championships. So he was one of the mainstays of that team. Now, the thing about it is he only averaged 9.8 points while shooting 43% from 3-point range this past season in Spain. So the 9.8, just telling you they probably don't score a lot of points, but he was efficient in knocking down threes, right? So here's a guy, Mitch, that I think that you take a look at him, you see what he can do. I'm not 100% sure if he's a starter in this league, but he will give you help when it comes down to going up against Julius Randle, up against these other teams that have traditional power forwards.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we do know, like you said, he's low risk, and his scoring went up when he was playing. With Real Madrid, he averaged double figures his first year. But we do know that he's a wide body. We know that he looks. His body. He's a big man, but he doesn't look like he's carrying a lot of fat. You know, he looks like he's in condition. And we got a glimpse of what he can do when he had that dunk over LeBron. Now, granted, you know, it's a whole different thing making plays like that in the NBA. But again, for the 76ers, he's low risk. He's a guy who I think when you look at his contract, the fact that he took that cut, Keith, I think it kind of indicates that he's willing to bet on his own abilities. He's willing to say, you know what, okay, I'm not going to make as much over here, but I believe I'm only 28 years old. I believe if I display my wares, I see how some of these guys get big contracts. And NBA is always the lure for players playing overseas. You know, they want to show what they can do against the best. And it is, you know, if he has a good season or two, you know, he can ring that bell and multiply his contract many times over. So it's a boom or bust for the 76ers. I mean, if he is an asset to this team, just marginally, you know, because when they go to a small ball, he might be their small ball center because he can actually run for a guy who who weighs, up north of 270 pounds. So, it brings a lot of intrigue, but there was a lot of interest in him after his performance in the Olympics, and he looked good in the Olympics.
Yeah, he did look good in the Olympics. I mean, think about it, talking about looking good. I mean, this guy averaged 19.6 points in France's 3 games against Canada, Germany, and Team USA in the medal round. So, you know, his game stepped up big time, like in the postseason. You know, so I mean, in the postseason, the medal round. That's the postseason of the Olympics. So yeah, he looked good. I'm a fan of his game, but we'll see. Like, we'll see. You know, he gambled on himself, but we'll also see what's going to happen. Because, like you said, he said, forget it. I'm betting on myself. I'm going to show y'all what I can do. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And we'll talk about KJ Martin when we get right back.
Right now, we want to talk to you about Game Time. You know, it's that time of year when you want to get to sporting events, you want to get to the theater, you want to get good seats. And I'm so glad that I was able to get good seats through Game Time and see my man Frankie Beverly, rest in peace, who passed away earlier this week. But Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks, and it makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can get curated deals that make it easier to find the best price on great seats. You can get the super deal. You can get seat views before you buy your tickets. And also, Game Time promises the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. So don't wait. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off.
Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. So KJ Martin. The thing about KJ, I like KJ. KJ's a guy who, when given the opportunity with the 76ers, he produced. You know, he's 6'5", maybe 6'6". He has extreme athletic ability. His real name is Kenyon Martin. Everybody calls him KJ. He's Kenyon Martin Jr. His father, Kenyon Martin, played in the NBA, was the first overall pick out of Cincinnati. He was a dog. I mean, center. A little, I'm not going to say undersized, but he wasn't like bulky. He was not.
He was round tight.
But he was round tight. Yeah, he was one of those, but extremely athletic. But he was just long.
Yeah,
tough as hell. So his son comes into the league, and he's a wing, high flyer, extremely athletic. But he has that grit. He has that dog that enables him to play the power forward position. And he really didn't get a lot of burn with the Sixers last year. until Joel Embiid got injured. A couple other people were injured, and they made trades. He didn't get traded, but they made trades, so they needed to play him out of necessity. And when they played him, he really produced. Now, the thing is, I don't think KJ really wanted to come back here. Now, he is 6'6", 215 pounds. I don't think he really wanted to come back here. But what happened is the Sixers basically, there wasn't a lot of money out there. So the Sixers offered him a 2-year, $16 million contract. Now, the second year isn't guaranteed. But Martin averaged 3.7 points and 2.2 rebounds in 58 games with two starts with the Sixers of this past season. For his career, Martin has averaged 8.9 points and 4.2 rebounds in 266 career games over 4 seasons with the Houston Rockets, the Clippers, and Sixers, right? The way he looks at it, he's like, look, this is giving me an opportunity to show what I can do, which is true now. And at the time, when he signed, he was the only power forward that they had on roster. And the Sixers, the way the Sixers are looking at it is he has a contract that is tradable. So if they need to make an upgrade, if it doesn't work out, if they need to make an upgrade, they can ship him in, which a team would love, because essentially there's, the second year is non-guaranteed, so they can take him. And if they don't like him, they can waive him, right? So, but if you're Martin, you look at it, there's a lot of guys who didn't get this type of money. So all he's worrying about is that first year, and he's getting paid. It's a nice contract. It's working out for both sides, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. He's a guy. It's interesting because you do have to be able to showcase what he can do. And I think he'll be in the mix a lot when the Sixers on those nights when Joel Embiid's not there and they're playing more small ball. Because I do tend to think that the 76ers will be playing less small ball than most teams in the NBA. You know what I mean, Keith? I think that because they have such a dominant big man, you won't if they're going to small ball, that means they're getting dictated to. Or I think that Joel will be out that night or for a stretch. But again, he's a player who, if the Sixers, if they are going to move him and going to be able to move him, they need to be able to show. They need to be able to showcase him. And that's going to be, I don't know how much playing time there's going to be for KJ Martin. Again, he's a bit undersized, very athletic guy, and when he played well. But as you said, without that guarantee for a second year, he's definitely looking like somebody who might take might make a run at him who needs to fill a position. So it's kind of a contract that works for the player and it works for the team, because if the player is playing well, he gets his people, other teams can see what he's capable of doing. So it puts him in a good position. It puts him in a good position, and the Sixers wanting to maybe fill out that 4 position when it comes time to make a trade, he might be crucial. So to get a legitimate guy in there.
I agree 100% with you. I do. But you know what? That's what it is. Right now, the power forward position is the weak link for the Sixers. But
on paper, it could.
On paper. That's what I'm saying. But Dancing Bear, if he can do what he can do, is great. And then also, let's keep it real. The NBA has changed. And the fact is, when you have a versatile big like Joel Embiid center, you can have a twin tower lineup where you have Joel playing more in the perimeter, which he likes to play, and Drummond could be down. Now, again, you're not going to start that lineup, but Drummond can be down low, grabbing rebounds, doing outlet passes, and Joel will be a mismatch for the poor, whoever soul it is trying to guard him. Because the thing is, if Joel brings the big out, then Drummond's going to feast on whom else is down there trying to guard him in the paint, right? So like that's the luxury that the Sixers have, and then PG, you look at PG, he can have a similar role as Tatum, for the most part. And I think because a lot of people, we keep talking about Caleb Martin, but you look at it and it like, you would really want, I think you would want PG guarding Tatum, so
yeah.
it is what it is. But I do like the Dancing Bear pickup. I don't know how much KJ is going to actually play, as you alluded to, as you talked about. But I do love his athleticism. And the games that he did come out and play, he played well. He just didn't get a lot of minutes, He didn't get a lot. So, Nico Batum would have been great.
Yeah.
He would have been great.
Yeah.
But, he opted to go back to the Clippers. Yeah. And that's what the 76ers have. So it is what it is.
Keith, you touched on something we might want to talk about a little bit later, man. I think people would be interested in hearing about it. But, when you touched on the 76ers and the Twin Towers lineup, I think that's something that people will be interested in seeing because, with Joel playing up high, that kind of gives him those opportunities to really do what he likes to do out there on the court with a guy who, can get his rebounds. Can rebound his shot. So
yeah, we'll talk about it because tomorrow we're going to break down the center position, y'all. We're going to come back with the center position, which may be the deep as well. It's probably the best center position that I don't know. I don't know if this ain't the best center position they had. Now, here's the thing, but we'll talk about that. In my opinion, the deepest center position that they had was the first go round with Drummond because you had Embiid, you had Drummond, you had Charles Bassey as your third string center,
and he played well.
And then you had Paul Reed, right, little undersized.
Yeah,
but the reason why I'm saying that is because Charles Bassey was a legitimate, another 6'11" type player who was, when he came in, he played extremely well.
Right.
He played extremely well. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. But today I want to thank y'all for making Locked On 76ers your first listen. Now for your second listen, go find Locked On NBA, where the local experts keep you updated daily on all the biggest storylines ahead of the season. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as we always say, do it today. Definitely do it today, people. And for my man Mitch and me, we want to thank y'all for listening, and we want y'all to have a blessed day. Peace.